Good morning and welcome to Wendy Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, August 12th, and this is a really important day at Good Morning Hebrew Home. And that's because we have our very first guest, who is our resident. The lovely and talented Sylvia Sutton from JR is here joining us today. So we're going to have a terrific interview with Sylvia in a few moments. First, we're going to get to housekeeping. Oh, we have a phone call. Maybe it's a viewer call-in.
Hello, good morning.
We have a call-in. This is very exciting.
It's on, and Sylvia's on. It's Zelda.
You see, Sylvia's fan club is already calling, asking, where is Sylvia? So everybody, I hope you're tuned into Channel 8 to see Sylvia. Okay, so let's get to it. We've got a lot of news to cover before our interview. It's going to be another warm day today, 89 degrees with a chance of storms and rain. So I would say maybe get out on the early side before it really heats up this afternoon. Our menus for today, for lunch, we are serving steak asabuco with a baked potato and pears for dessert. And for dinner, we're serving bean soup with baked ziti and zucchini medley and sponge cake for dessert. Today in history, we have a lot of interesting things that took place. In 1898, the Spanish-American War ended. In 1908, Henry Ford's company built the first Model T car. That's pretty interesting. In 1930, Clarence Birdseye received a patent for a method of quick freezing food. I'm sure many of you have had the Birdseye brand of frozen foods over the years. And in 1955, President Eisenhower raised minimum wage from 75 cents to $1 an hour. In 1962, two people were in space together for the very first time. And at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, swimmer Michael Phelps won his third of 8 gold medals when he took the 200-meter freestyle in world record time. We have a little, some unusual holidays today. It's National Middle Child Day. So if you are a middle child out there, it looks like Antonique is shaking her head. Are you a middle child?
Kind of. I have like half sisters and half brothers that are older.
Okay.
Younger, so it's kind of.
So Antonique is a quasi-middle child. Any other middle children in the room? No. I am the youngest of 4. I'm the youngest. So for all those middle children out there, happy Middle Child Day. It's National Vinyl Record Day. And it's also World Elephant Day. And yesterday, I happened to be reading an article which I shared with our Tuesday host, David Pomerantz, from the New York Times. And there was a story in it. I hope many of you saw it. It was about a 50-year-old elephant named Mara, who spent decades in captivity. And she made a 1,700-mile road trip from Argentina to Brazil to gain freedom at a sanctuary. So I was so happy. You know, I'm an animal lover, and elephants are just incredible, beautiful creatures. And so I was really happy to hear that after 50 long years, she finally found the freedom that she deserved. I found out some very interesting elephant trivia along the way to share with you. Elephants are the world's largest land animal, and they can actually weigh up to 6 tons. And wild elephants can live for up to 60 to 70 years. And this is something I did not know. There are actually 2 species of elephants, African and Asian, and you can tell them apart by their ears. The ears of African elephants are much larger than their cousins and are described as being shaped like the African continent, whereas the ears of Asian elephants are shaped like the Indian subcontinent. Their elephant tusks, they are enlarged incisor teeth, which first appear when elephants are around 2 years old, and tusks continue growing throughout all their lives. And one other interesting thing is elephants need up to 150 kilograms of food per day. Now, I meant to translate that into poundage, but I didn't get to that. So you guys are going to have to look that up. But it's a lot of food. And they eat so much that they can spend up to 3/4 of their day eating. So that's a lot of food. Another interesting fun fact about elephants, they communicate in a variety of ways, including sounds like trumpet calls, body language, touch, and scent. And they can also communicate through seismic signals, sounds that create vibrations in the ground. And one other interesting thing about elephants, when they're born, calves can stand within 20 minutes of birth. So they are truly beautiful creatures. I know I'm sharing a lot of elephant trivia with you, but they really are incredible. So I wanted to share that. So let's switch gears now and talk about birthdays. We have a few celebrity birthdays. Jane Wyatt was born on today, and Pete Sampras, the tennis champion, he was born today as well. And we have several Hebrew Home residents celebrating birthdays today. Miriam B., Phyllis D., Sarah L., and Beverly M. And we have some staff birthdays too. We have Alex from Health Information Management celebrating, as well as Jenny from Housekeeping, and Terry from Nursing, Debbie from Finance, and Kenneth from Therapeutic Activities Enrichment Programs. Happy birthday to each of you. Your birthday horoscope today says, there will be times over the coming year when you want nothing more than to retreat from the chaos of the world. That's fine, of course, but it's unlikely you will stay away from the game for long. A little chaos can be quite exciting. So happy birthday, and hope it's not too much chaos, just manageable. So now to the most exciting part of today's show. As you know, we always have an interview. It's been staff up until this point. And today, we are excited to welcome Sylvia, a resident from JR, as our special guest today. So welcome, Sylvia.
Well, hello. It's nice to be here.
Hello.
I didn't realize I was the first.
You are. This is a very important moment in Good
goodness.
Morning Hebrew Home History. So we have several paintings that Sylvia created. But before we get to your artwork, which is beautiful, how about if we talk about you? And maybe you can share with us a little bit about where you're from, your family, career path. What should we know about Sylvia?
Well, I was born in Wheeling, West Virginia, a rather small state compared to New York. I stayed there until I went to college, first 2 years of college. And from there, I moved to UCLA, Los Angeles, to continue my college. Excuse me, my voice. Anyway, I have had a mother and father and 2 brothers. And I moved to California. I met my husband-to-be, got married, and had 3 boys of my own. So I have 3 sons. 2 live in New York, and 1 lives in Florida. And I have 2 grandchildren here in New York, little ones. And I have 1 older grandchild who now lives in Ohio. So anyway, I came to the Hebrew Home because I have some disabilities. I had broken my leg. I have MS. You know, one thing after another. The older you get, sometimes the more you get. Yeah. Anyway, and my sons wanted me in New York so they could see me. So they moved me to the Hebrew Home. So here I am, and I just passed the 4-year mark.
Wow. Well, we're so glad that you're part of our community. What was it like when you went off to California from West Virginia? What was that experience like?
It was really a strange experience because I went from such a small town to such a big city. I only felt a little comfortable because I had a cousin who lived there, but as it turns out, I hardly knew him at all. He was a doctor and had a big job as a pediatrician at Cedars-Sinai Hospital. Oh. So I really hardly saw him, but it made my family feel comfortable that I had a relative in California.
Somebody out there, but
yeah,
still
right.
Making your way all by yourself.
I know. I don't know how I did it.
Well, you must have a lot of inner strength to do that, because it's not an easy task.
I don't know if I was just stupid or just inner strength. I'm not quite sure. I say that every day when I'm here. Exactly.
So what happened? You went to school in California, and then what did you study, and what was your career path?
I was studying physical therapy, and I met my husband-to-be, And at that point, I didn't want to go out of state or out of town to go to therapy school. So I finished all the pre-work, all the units I needed, and then got married instead of going to physical therapy school. And so...
Well, raising 3 boys is no easy task. You must have had your hands full, right?
It was not easy. Believe me, it wasn't easy, but there's good and there's bad, you know, with raising children.
Sure. Well, I have 2 boys, so I know what it's like to be in a
Yes,
house
so
full
hopefully
of
they're all
boys.
okay now. 2 I know are here in New York. One has 2 little babies that I see as often as I can,
That's
but of
great.
course I haven't been really able to see them except on FaceTime.
And then when did you travel to the New York area? Has that been a long time you've been in New York?
No, just the 4 years that I'm here. I came right from the airport to the Hebrew home.
From the airport in...
Here.
No, but in you weren't were you coming from...
I'm sorry. From California, I went with a friend to North Carolina,
Okay.
where I have a brother, thinking that I was going to live there for a while.
Okay.
And after less than 2 years, I slipped off the bed and broke my leg.
Oh, my.
So I had to go into a cast and into a nursing home. So my kids, of course, said, this is nonsense. If she's in a nursing home, we don't want her stuck in North Carolina, we want her here.
Sure.
So fortunately, they applied for me to the Hebrew home and I got in.
So before we get to your paintings, just, you know, since you've lived in different parts of the country, do you have a favorite part of the country that you've lived in? You know, West Coast, East Coast. I mean, they're so all, and West Virginia, everything's so different.
And that's true. It is different. West Coast, I found it easier to get around because it just, living in West Los Angeles or Beverly Hills, that area where I was, it was easy. Even if you needed to take a bus, it was easy to hop on a bus. New York, I thought I would never be able to get around in had I needed to.
Right.
Because it's just so much more complex. And so when I came to New York, I was happy to be near my family.
Sure.
And it was interesting to see change of seasons.
Yes.
I'm not so sure it was that great, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
But New York, the weather is more like it was in West Virginia when I was growing up. We
Right.
had snow.
Right.
You know, we had winters. And so I don't mind it at all. Right now, I'm happy to be where I am. I'm happy to be here. Just knowing people, knowing that my needs are taken care of. Sorry that I have so many needs. I feel sorry for the people that have to take care of me. But, and then just making new friends. It's a little bit difficult because even though there are a lot of us here, we're all very different. We all have different reasons for being here.
Yes.
But I have made a few friends. And being in different classes is another way of making friends.
Sure.
The art class, which I wish it would come back already.
It will. This is a good segue to talk about these beautiful, beautiful paintings. So maybe you want to talk about this one first, since you touched upon West Virginia. And
Yeah, that's pretty much one reason I picked that one to bring down, was because that is a picture of a barn in West Virginia. I mean, mail pouch tobacco, I had to look it up because I wasn't really sure of the details, but mail pouch tobacco was a tobacco company that was born, so to speak, in Wheeling, West Virginia.
oh,
Like me. I guess that must be a cigarette. No. It was apparently a couple brothers with the last name of Block, and the Block brothers formed a tobacco company.
okay.
And then it became mail pouch tobacco. And it was originally a chewing tobacco, actually, not smoking
Okay.
so much as chewing.
Are they still around today? You
They
think?
kind of have disappeared, but you can buy it in some places.
And this picture, so tell us
That's in the countryside. And when I didn't live in the countryside of Wheeling, more in the city side, but driving through the country, you could see these barns every once in a while with the mail pouch tobacco insignia. So I looked that up when I was looking for a picture to paint in the art class. And I looked that up and I thought, oh, that's great. I just love the scene of country and barns.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'd like to live in it. I lived in the area, but not quite there.
Right, right. Yeah, it's beautiful. And tell us about this other painting.
Well, the birds was one of my last paintings. The barn was one of my first.
Okay.
And this was, I just like color. And I had buildings on my wall that I'd painted, and people, sunset. I had different things, and I wanted birds. So I painted the tree. I found a picture, and I basically, when I want to paint a particular picture, I kind of find a picture like what I'm looking for. I can change the colors, or I can change the direction or the scenery, but it gives me the idea.
And then you go from there.
And I go from there, put the colors in. They don't have to be exactly like the picture, of course.
So the picture from this one, how close is this to the picture, and how much was your imagination?
Well, the picture itself was similar, just different birds and different parts of the trees, different kinds of branches. I do have my red cardinal in there, which is my West Virginia bird, so that brings it into context with the mail patch barn. He's probably been there.
That's right.
And
so do you have your eye on anything you'd like to paint going forward that you haven't tackled yet?
well, I started a picture of a bedroom with different articles in an old kind of fashioned bedroom. And when I got to the bed, the coronavirus came.
Oh.
So my bed is waiting for the virus to leave so I can go back in the art class and paint the quilt. So hopefully that won't take too long.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully soon it'll open, the studio will open again.
Right.
So you had told me that you had not painted for some like 30 years before you put pen to canvas here.
Yeah, I did a little bit of artwork when I was a young married, with little children. And I took a couple art classes, and I put my kids, or at least one or two of them, in an art class. And so it was just a few things. I didn't do too many things. But when I got here, I saw that there was an art class, and a friend of mine had been going for a while. So I thought, that'd be a nice way to make friends and a nice way to continue artwork. So I went in and started drawing a little bit and doing a couple paintings, and I really liked it. So that strengthened my artwork and strengthened my friendship.
Yeah.
And it continues to this day if we get back to it.
Sure. So before we're going to have to wrap up in a few minutes, but you have a lot of residents watching from the Hebrew home, and what would you say to them in terms of finding a passion later in life, like you found yours back again? I mean, what would you share with them?
I would say, don't be afraid to try what the Hebrew home has to offer in the art room, in the art studio. When it gets back to normal, it's not just painting. They were doing sketching, crafts, different types of art. And we had a lot of people in the class that were doing different kinds of art that they really loved. And to get back in and try it. Nobody's going to say how terrible you are. Everyone's going to say great.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's a good way to meet people and be proud that you could do something.
That is great advice.
Yeah.
Okay, Sylvia, we do something a little kooky at the end of our interviews, which is we ask 4 random questions. So the first question is to you, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food? You're not talking about here.
In the whole universe, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food.
Do you like sweets? Are you a meat and potatoes kind of gal?
I'm kind of a meat and potatoes or kind of gal.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other question we like to ask is if you have a lucky number, and if so, what is that lucky number, if you have one?
I don't really have one, but I could make one up.
No, that's okay.
7.
Okay, the next question is, if we were making a grand Hollywood movie about the Sylvia Sutton story, what actress would you like to play the role of Sylvia?
Oh, dear, that's an interesting question. I don't know. Who would I want? Someone with a sense of humor.
You know who comes to mind, but you're too young for her. But a Helen Mirren kind of a person, because she's elegant and beautiful and well spoken.
I like Helen Mirren. I don't think I'm too young, though. I'm old, and I think.
All right, we'll go with Helen for now. How about that? And then the last question: if you were not a person, if you were not human, what animal would you be?
Monkey.
A monkey. Okay.
Sounds like fun.
Absolutely. All right. So my deep gratitude and thanks to Sylvia for joining us at the studio today and being our guest. Such a delight, such a pleasure to have you share your artwork and your story and to be here. So many thanks to you, Sylvia.
Thank you. It's nice.
Okay, we are going to wrap up today's show with a few programming notes. Rabbi Noah, as you know, his show is at 11:15. Then it's followed by Wellness with Deborah at 1:30 and a concert with Larry at 2:30. And if you would like to see Sylvia again, there's a rebroadcast of the show at 6:30. So we thank you all for tuning in and for spending some of your morning with us. Enjoy the day.